Whatever your situation in life might be, just remember, it can always be worse. 10 Cloverfield Lane stars John Goodman, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and John Gallagher Jr. It is a psychological thriller that takes place in a bunker underground where John Goodman's character is keeping Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character captive, and he claims that he's protecting her from the outside world, where he says the air is unbreathable and complete chaos and mayhem and Armageddon is going on out there. And we don't know whether he's onto something or if he's completely batshit crazy. She is trying desperately to get out of this situation, and we're rooting for her all the way. And this movie makes it hard to discern whether it is safer in that bunker or outside that bunker. Can I just say, John Goodman is a national treasure. That dude can create a character, he can be likable, he can be creepy. He's one of the all-time great character actors. I will follow him wherever he goes. He really nails being someone who is a creep, who's paranoid, who has somewhat of a backstory that makes sense as to why he's doing what he's doing, yet you're confused in a good way. One second he'll do something that's a little bit crazy, and the next second you're like, oh, okay, well, maybe he's not so bad. But then you're like, no, he's bad. We need to get away from this guy. The cool thing is he's an imposing character. Definitely in her corner. We're trying to get her out of there. The more and more she tries to climb out of that rabbit hole, the more and more this narrative brings us down the rabbit hole as to finding new ways to scare you and finding different ways to scare you. And as the story unfolds, we really have a hard time figuring out what the best thing is to do. If Murphy's Law is whatever you think might go wrong will go wrong, Cloverfield Law is whatever you think might go wrong, what actually happens is much worse. 10 Cloverfield Lane is not to be confused with the original Cloverfield. There are some tangential relationships between the two movies and maybe some similarities that you could draw. They are rumored to be in the same universe, though it's not quite obvious. They seem to be related in name only, much like Ghostbusters is related to Ghost Dad. If you recall the TV show Lost, if you watched the first season, you were like, well, maybe the island is this. You watch the second season, you're like, oh, I think the island is this. And then you watch the third season, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, it's both of those things. So it's really that type of storytelling. And the cool thing about Mary Elizabeth Winstead is she is not just a damsel in distress. She is really trying to get out of there and figuring out clever ways to get past John Goodman's imposing character. You don't know what his intentions are, and you don't know if his motivations are genuine or fueled by paranoia. And to quote the late, great Kurt Cobain, just because you're paranoid, don't mean they're not after you. It's not necessarily something you need to see in the theater, because it's essentially these three characters in a box. I definitely recommend it for maybe streaming or renting. Dan Tractenberg does a great job directing these characters. The performances are great all around. John Goodman, he is good, man. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel and give me a like. And remember to always be thankful for the good things in life, like confetti cake and crushed velvet paintings.